Yeah, I love that effect with a print fabric where you use your background, the same color as the background in a print fabric. And I do that a fair bit in my work, so I enjoy that effect as well. Another way I did add some negative space to this quilt was to make, there's a small border around it. It's only a couple inches in this case, although it could be larger. And that just sets it off, having it the same color as the background, and makes the whole quilt float a bit more and adds to its overall airy feeling.
I love that too. The thing that surprised me about this quilt, and I saw a photograph of it before I got to see the actual quilt, and I thought that this was entirely pieced, that the block was entirely pieced. But tell us a little bit about your process there.
Well, so the bottom part of the house is pieced and the roof is applique. So when I came to making a decision as to how to do it, I did originally intend to piece it, but because I had fallen in love with that angle, I couldn't reproduce it easily in piecing, and I did try paper piecing, but that seemed to take quite a bit of fabric. It's also not my personal favorite technique, where I love applique, so I thought I'm just going to applique this, and I think
it was a great way to do it. I think that's a great solution to that problem.
Right, you can get exactly the shape you want and put it exactly the place you want. So,
well, I think we should jump right into how do you make this block. Let's go to the machine and show me how you do this.
All right, so as you can see, this block has a lot of pieces.
A lot of organization that I'm not always so good at, so you're going to teach me about that.
Right, so one of the things I like to do when I'm making a quilt like this is label all my pieces so that I can keep track of where I am, because it's so easy to get mixed up between how long, say, that piece is and that piece is, and get the wrong one.
There's also so many pieces of the same color, especially with the white, and some of them are very close in size.
They're very similar. They are, so it would be easy to pick up the wrong one. So I like to lay that out near my machine and get started with that.
That's great.
So the first thing we want to build in this block is the door. So
it's a good place to start.
It is. It's your entryway to your house, and same for the block. So we're just going to...
So what do we have here for the pieces?
So we have the door itself, and then sort of the door jamb.
The door jamb.
The lintel, I think those are called. So we can put the little jambs on it first.
And you're just using a 1/4 inch seam.
Yes, I am.
And what size needle do you like to use when you're piecing cotton fabrics like this?
I usually use a 70 micro check. I do. I like small needles, and
are you using I didn't look, a piecing foot? So do you actually have the flange on the edge of the foot that helps?
This one doesn't have a flange. It's just it's a 1/4 inch one where you run it along the edge of the 1/4 inch. So that's nice.
So we'll add the two side pieces first.
Yeah.
And then we'll add the lintel across the top. And I can do the pressing on that if you'd like, and finish that seam. And that's kind of important too, because on piecing like this, we want to make sure that we're pressing not toward the background, right?
Right, we want to press towards...
We don't want shadowing from the color through the white. Yes. That keeps that white nice and clean.
Yeah, there's not much show through so much with the curry, but in some of the navy or the darker green, it can be, you get the little navy bits. Sometimes those will shadow through on
the print could show definitely through. And we're using red thread just so that you can see it better, but you definitely wouldn't use a red thread to do this.
I wouldn't.
What color do you like to use when you're piecing?
Well, I'm back to my garment sewing days, and that if I can match the thread to my piecing, I will.
That's exactly how I do too. Yeah, definitely garment sewing.
I've been known to switch threads in the middle of a block.
Oh, really?
Well, sometimes where you have, if I'm piecing navy to navy, I want to use navy. And if I'm piecing navy to cream, it's probably not as important.
Right.
But I hate to have that little cream maybe showing through.
There we go. Okay, so we've got that door assembled, and all we need to do then next with this, just to assemble the door unit, is to add the side
pieces, right? So then we can work on the window.
Okay.
And if you could get me, let's see, I need a C, 2 V's, and 2 W's for the window.
Let's see, I won't take the one with the label.
Let's see, give me the V first, and I can sew those on.
two of these little guys.
Yeah, tiny little ones.
And a W?
Two W's.
Two W's. Okay.
Yep.
And this, it's just more of the same straight piecing, but the accuracy here, I'm noticing with this kind of line work that you're trying to create, it's really important to have really accurate quarter-inch seams. It's not, you don't want to be racing through this like I do sometimes.
Right, it's not the pedal to the metal side.
Right. You want these to be accurate quarter-inch seams to achieve this kind of line work.
Yes, because if they're off, well, as always, your block won't fit, particularly in this case because you're focusing on the line.
It's going to draw your eye right to it.
It's going to look uneven.
Okay.
And sometimes when I'm doing these longer ones, I just take them and I fold them in half and do a little pinch in there.
I think that's a really good idea.
Thing here to just, if I was doing a very long one, I'd probably pin it. This one I'll probably just line it up and make sure it looks like it's going to work out.
So on a piece this size, you wouldn't normally use pins or...
You'll see now I just changed my mind. If I had a pen, you got to see how it wants to go.
go the same way.
And I kind of like
I try not to, but if it works.
Well, the other thing I do is when I'm doing a piece like this where this one doesn't have any seams and the other one does, I always put the one without any seams against the sewing machine bed just so it doesn't trip me up with those seams getting sewn the wrong way.
I always say the time that it takes to put pins in and take them out, I try to avoid it if I can. Because if I can be, maybe just as accurate by smoothing it and squaring it with my fingers.
Do one more.
Okay. I wonder what this quilt would look like with a black replacing the white fabric. I think that would be really cool.
Black with all white houses, I would love that.
All white, or like all white and maybe one gray, or
Yep.
Very cool.
We can press that.
I like it when you can start seeing it come together, and that's the point where we're at now, where
your little window.
We've got the window and the door.
Yes.
And now.
So then we would take that piece, as you can see here, and add these two pieces on. And then
I think we can just jump ahead
to sew these two together.
Yeah, and make the body of the house then.
Right.
I could even see doing all black background and colors of the spectrum as the house is just sort of a rainbow.
Yeah, black on rainbow on black is always a stunning look.
Makes it pop.
Oops, I hit it. Okay. So there's that.
It's looking awesome.
So then, to that we would add the walls here, these long ones, and then this little side piece, which is going to give us our roof overhang.
Oh, sure. Okay, I see that now. Let's set this aside, and
then we get the block to almost full size by adding on this big piece for the roof.
Okay. Do we want to go ahead and sew that? Let's onto this side.
Sure.
Let's do one
That's our G piece. Definitely do a little
centering.
Yeah.
Finger press.
See if I can do right sides together.
That's a little important.
Just a little.
Oh, this is looking great. This is another quilt I'm going to have to add to my to-do list, which is
probably a long one, isn't it?
It's pretty long.
Yeah.
That's okay. It gives me something to aspire to.
That's why we all love quilting. There's so many different quilts to make.
The possibilities,
They're all
right.
different.
Now the next thing that we're going to be jumping to is our applique, right?
Yes. Okay. Our template going.
And this is fusible applique, actually. So we're going to be working with a fusible adhesive, and I'm sure you've got some tips for that too that I'd love to hear because I work a lot with fusible adhesive.
Okay, so there's
Looks
basic
great.
one that would look like that.
Okay.
All right, so here is our template. And this one is on 2 pieces of paper because it's too big to fit on one. So you can just use these dotted lines as registration marks and fold it or cut it there and tape it along the line there. And it doesn't really matter that these edges don't line up because this is the important part.
That's right.
So we've got that.
I'm going to set this aside now.
So then you can see I've got my template taped together here. I can put my fusible web here.
I'm going to take this ruler out and we can actually just trace
it that way.
It's a lot easier on a long path like that to have your
is.
tracing to just use a ruler.
Get it lined up right. There we go. Yeah, and I'm a pretty shaky drawer.
To do it by hand.
Yeah. Well, long straight line.
Why do that if you've got the tools? Use them.
Right. A little bit here. I'll do this.
Okay. And that actually, the ends of the rooftop actually sit within the seam, right?
Yeah, they do. Makes it easier to line it up when you're fusing it in place if the raw edges line up, even though it does add a little bit of bulk to the seam.
And there's a lot of information in this quilt. So if you want more information, just go to the website in the TV section and you'll find more information.
Okay, so that's cut out. We can put that one aside because I've cut it out. Yeah, I've cut it out here to leave a little bit of extra so that when we fuse it to the fabric.
And you could actually cut this with a rotary cutter, right? In a ruler?
Yeah, I could. Well, I stacked, several on these to fuse it, and then I would cut this out with a ruler.
Okay. Do you want me to do that for you?
Sure. Get this one off.
Get that one out of the way.
So what I do when I do this is I cut the long part and then I stop just a little bit before I get to these points, particularly the inside one, and do that with the scissors so I don't cut the roof in half by mistake.
I would do that. That would be one of my tricks.
Yeah, ask me how I know, right? Nice straight line. So much better than trying to do it by hand.
You can easily cut this with scissors. That wouldn't be a problem, but why not do it perfectly straight?
Ooh, what's the move on? Yeah.
There we go. Yeah. I'm not going to go all the way to the center.
Right. Well, snip that last bit with the scissors.
Let's move these pieces out of the way.
We don't need to do the no need to worry about these end bits. I can do those with the scissors too because they're going to be in the seam allowance anyway. So.
I'm trying to be as perfect as I can with the width of this line because you've done such a great job of making that so accurate.
Thank you. Okay, drop the ends off there. Into the point there. Okay, we'll do that. Here we go. Okay, so now we're going to get the paper off here.
Remove the paper back.
Yeah. Sweet. Yeah, this one came off easily. Sometimes they want to just stay on there, don't they?
Yeah, and it's easy too. If you have a piece of paper backing that doesn't want to come off, you just use a straight pin or something and scratch on the paper and just give it a good tear.
Yep. Okay.
Okay.
So now we're going to line this up.
This part I really want to see how you do this. This is
that one on our way. So we're lining up the roof with the insides of the walls here. So these raw edges match here. This goes here.
And you just intersect those exactly.
And it goes there. See, the roof's not quite. Got the angle a little bit wrong there. There we go. I'm just fuss with it. That looks pretty good.
Okay. Now, how? Like you just follow the manufacturer's instructions for how to heat it, but it seems like every manufacturer is a little bit different.
They do. Some have steam, some no steam. This one wants about 6 seconds to do it on there.
Am I okay there? I moved that just a little bit, so I want to make sure that
let's get in. Just so
there, intersect that one.
Yeah.
Okay.
There we go.
And then you're just going to finish this with a little bit of a zigzag stitch.
Right. And I use a slightly more open zigzag than, it's pretty common in fusible applique to use either a satin stitch or a blanket stitch. And I think blanket stitch doesn't really suit my style. I'm just putting a few pins in the stabilizer here. So
I like what you do with the finishing stitch on the applique. It's not a satin stitch, it's not a buttonhole, but it's a zigzag, but it's open enough that you still see the fabric. And what kind of thread are you using for your finishing?
I usually use a 50 weight.
Just a cotton, okay.
50 weight, yeah. And another reason that I do the open zigzag is it doesn't give you such a solid line.
Right.
Especially when you're using a print fabric like we have in this quilt. You don't want the emphasis to be on the stitching, or at least I don't. I like the emphasis to be on the fabric.
Become another element of the quilt if you have that line.
Right. And sometimes that's the look you want, but in this case, I want to make the stitching disappear as much as possible, although, of course, with the red thread.
Yeah, the red's going to show, but you'll at least be able to see the stitching.
Yeah.
And what stitch width would you say that you're on?
So on this one, we're using it's a 3.25 width and a 0.7 length.
Okay.
So every time I do this, I do a practice piece, because even when you're at home on your own machine, it seems to vary.
Sure.
As to what you like the look of,
and different machines are very different also.
Absolutely.
When I teach classes in applique and teaching satin stitching and things like that, everyone's machine's a little bit different.
Yeah.
So
they are. So I'm just stitching along here, trying to get I get all the stitch on except for just one little bite going off into the background.
Okay. I like the look of that, so that you're not running onto the background, which again, that would just create more, it would draw your eye to it.
Right. If you're using a thread that, matches, it gives you kind of a, kind of a fuzzy look. Okay, and I'm coming up to the point, so I'm just going to go one more. And
you just want to make sure you stop with your needle in the down position.
Yes, absolutely. There we go. The needle down has to be one of the greatest inventions in sewing machines, in my opinion.
I agree. Needle down and presser foot up. I love it when the presser foot pops up and I don't have to do that.
That is nice too.
For pivoting, that's really important.
I used to sew on a pretty old machine until a couple of years ago. I just love the needle down. Also very fond of my needle threader, which was something I didn't expect to care about, but I really like it.
Well, I think this is great, Debbie. We've seen plenty of
that's good enough
zigzag. I think so, because we want to just talk through what we're going to do next with the block, and that would be to add these side panels to the block.
And the bottom one.
Right here, and the bottom one. And that's when you've got your house block.
And it's done. Yep, that's the completed block.
Well, I love this. For more information, again, go to the website, check the TV section. But just in closing, I want to know what your thought was on quilting this quilt.
So I took the shape of the clear story window that lent the quilt its name and quilted horizontally 1 inch and vertically 5 inches, so it echoes that shape.
Well, I think it's beautiful, and I hope you guys like it too. And this is definitely a quilt I'm adding to my to-do list.
Thank you.
Thanks for being with us, Debbie.
Thank you.
Grab a pencil. Tips and other useful information coming up next. Hang on, catch. Oh, this is so pretty. It's a garland. This is a tip, our first tip of the day, from Hope Martin, who lives in Zephyr Hills, Florida. She says, don't throw away your selvages or your tiny scraps of fabric. You can make a garland out of them.
Isn't that neat?
Yes, it's a fun project you can do sitting in front of the TV, or you can have a child help you for a craft project. I just think that would look so great on a Christmas tree.
It would, especially a quilter's Christmas
Or
tree.
bunting on the stairway.
Absolutely.
I'm in trouble. I'm going to be doing
That's
this.
really neat. This is a tip from a very resourceful person, Maxine Mullins from Lexington, Kentucky, and she uses chenille stems, also called pipe cleaners, to clean the bobbin case around her bobbin. And they're fuzzy; they pick up that fuzz really well. She says, well, you only need one. They have a long lifespan, and so she wondered what to do with the extras. So she used them as keepers for her thread and the matching bobbin. So you just twist them together, and so use the whole package.
Really cute. This is a woman that she's after my own heart. Barbara Knowles from Wilmington, North Carolina. She keeps blunt end scissors on a lanyard around her neck for snipping. Actually, that's just ribbon. Oh no, okay. For snipping thread. For when she doesn't have her regular scissors close by, she doesn't have to worry about poking or putting holes in her clothes. And for those of you who don't use these kinds of things, I do. I like to have a little pair of snips hanging off my neck. But it really hurts.
Yeah.
They'll poke you. And most of them have covers, but you lose the cover. Like
gravity falls off.
5 minutes after I open the scissors, I lose them. So these work
The kids'
just
scissors are great.
fine. Yeah.
This is really neat. You've got to have that extension cord to take to classes. And so, they sometimes my husband Mark would put cable ties around it, when she needs scissors to take off. So what Carolyn Carr from Lyons, Nebraska did is just made little covers with Velcro to keep her cord all neat and tidy.
Grab bag.
Carolyn Carr from Lyons, Nebraska. Isn't that clever? I love it.
All these tips are clever.
Yes.
We would love to see the tips that you would send to us. So you can send those tips to Love of Quilting, P.O. Box 171, Winterset, Iowa 50273. It's great if you include an example of your tip. I think all these folks did that today. You can also go to the tip section of the website, fonsandporter.com, and send us your tip that way. If we use your tip on the show, you'll get a 1-year subscription to Love of Quilting magazine.
Everybody, we appreciate you watching, and we want to see you again next time.
See you later.
Additional quilting ideas from Marianne and Liz are available in Fons and Porter's Love of Quilting magazine. A 1-year subscription contains 60 or more projects.